This is a video about a jazz cruise to the Southern Caribbean over New Year's. This map shows our ports of call. The ship departed from, and of course returned to, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The cruise started with 2 days at sea. This was plenty of time to get acquainted with the ship and its amenities. This video will concentrate on showing the islands we visited, mostly beaches, and on the music provided by the 3 jazz bands associated with our cruise. Except for this steel drum player, we won't show much of the generally available entertainment provided by the ship. You see, we'd come to enjoy the jazz and dancing provided by our own tour's group of musicians. The first port of call was St. Maarten. There were many ships dumping hordes of tourists onto the island. I joined one of my friends who had spent a month in St. Maarten approximately 20 years before. The French half of the island used to be the more interesting because most of the women there went topless on the beaches. My friend wanted to check out some of the out-of-the-way beaches she used to enjoy. The first was Coconut Grove. The beach was still free of tourists. I could never do this. The second beach we visited was recommended by our taxi driver. It was Grand Casa Beach. It was well developed for tourists spending a week or more on the island. My friend had brought snorkeling gear. The water was nice and clear for snorkeling. Oh yes, the selfies. The third beach we visited was Friars Beach. It's a low-key beach used primarily by people spending a week or more on the island. I was surprised when a sudden rain shower appeared and got everyone off the beach for a few minutes. We were getting hungry. Our taxi driver recommended a local place to eat lunch. It was a good choice. The last beach we visited on St. Maarten was Guana Beach. Not too far from the ship, but not a beach that attracted tourists. And it was windy. We returned to the ship with anticipation. You see, this was the last day of the year 2015, and everyone was looking forward to our New Year's Eve celebration.
We have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Old acquaintance.
That was one of the best New Year's celebrations I've ever attended. Our next port of call was St. Lucia. I joined a group in a minibus for a 2-hour trip south to see the Pitons. At Margot Bay, there was this great sailing vessel. These are people selling ripe bananas along the roadside. The interior of St. Lucia even has rainforests. The island is mountainous, so the route along the coast winds up and down. We made a stop at Castries, a small fishing village. It has some interesting architecture and art. As we approached the town of Soufrière, we could finally see the two Pitons. Soufrière has some interesting colonial architecture. It's often called the heart and soul of St. Lucia. The Pitons rise from the sea like pyramids of volcanic rock. Then we started the 2-hour tiring drive back to the city of Castries. Castries has a smattering of colonial-era buildings. The throbbing heart of the city is the market area. You can find almost anything going on here.
You want to play dominoes?
No, no good.
In St. Lucia, we play dominoes.
I can see that.
Not Chinese dominoes.
On ship every morning, there was a jam session in the piano bar area. Everyone was invited to listen, to dance, or to play an instrument. Some enjoyed poolside activity. And of course there was ship-provided entertainment that was only lightly attended by our group. Because at most times of the day, one of our 3 bands was playing. This is Wally's Warehouse Waifs. The next day, we were in Bridgetown, Barbados, for 8 hours. I decided to take a local bus north to Spritstown. I had explored Bridgetown on a previous cruise. Now, there are 4 types of local transportation: government buses, private buses, minibuses, and route taxis. And no matter which type you take, the fare is exactly the same. 1.5 Barbados dollars to get to any place on the island. My first ride was with a government bus. Note that the boarding passengers are depositing their fare with a driver as they board the government bus. My guidebook said that Spritstown was the most interesting small town on the island of Barbados. It did have a nice beach, but I had a difficult time finding any other interesting sights. But the local people were interesting. For the return trip to Bridgetown, I caught a private bus. You'll note that the passengers on the private bus do not pay the driver when they get on board. A ticket taker gets their money later. A bus ride in the Barbados is exciting. Bridgetown is the island's only city, and it is bustling with activity. And there are old colonial buildings. A shuttle took us from the dock way out to where our ship was moored. Our ship, the Holland American Oosterdam, welcomed returning passengers. And then it was time for more music from our 3 bands. This is Tom Rigney and his band, Flambeau. The next day, it was the island of Martinique. We docked at the town of Fort de France. There was a beach within easy walking distance from the ship. I took a little ferry across the bay. That's where the locals told me to go for the best beaches. We passed Fort St. Louis. We could easily see the island's mountainous terrain from the ferry. It was about a 20-minute trip. Most of the passengers seemed to know where they were going. I ended up at one of the 2 recommended beaches, but frankly, I don't know which one. It was relatively small and packed with tourists. People who were staying overnight had these delightful accommodations. There were the usual interesting sights to watch on the beach, and there was a man using 2 water rockets on his boots to take him into the air. More beach sights, and more of the Rocket Man. This is a so-called crow's nest on board the ship. In the afternoon, after we got back from being ashore, there was always music and dancing in the crow's nest. The island of St. Kitts was our next stop. St. Kitts was like all the other stops in that as soon as you got off the ship, there was this special area set up for tourists and their shopping. The focus of the town of Basse-Terre is the so-called circus. It's a roundabout and includes a green clock. St. Kitts has many fine beaches and inland nature wonders. I spent most of the day relaxing. A few in the group enjoyed the swimming pool on board ship. And then we were treated to more excellent music. This is Wally's Warehouse Waif. Our next stop was St. Thomas Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This is Emerald Beach. Some of us hired a taxi for the day. We visited several beaches. This is Brewer's Beach, nice and deserted. Then we drove up a circuitous route and through the mountains to the ultimate tourist trap. This huge hilltop souvenir shop had something for everyone. And out on the balcony was a great view of the area. Megan's Bay was right below. My guidebook said, do not go to Megan's Beach if there are more than 3 ships docked at the city. That's because the beach will be mobbed with people.
This beach here?
Yeah. Then we drove off the mountain. That is a steep hill down.
Oh, yeah, steep, very steep.
Blackbeard's Hill can be mounted by walking 99 steps up. I decided to go a little way, but then ended walking clear to the top. From there was a great view out over the city and toward our ship. And then at night, we were entertained by our 3 bands. This is the High Sierra Jazz Band. Our last stop was a tiny island owned by the Holland America Cruise Line. They call it Half Moon Cay. It was so windy that the tenders did not begin to shuttle us ashore until late in the morning. In fact, for a while it looked like we'd not get ashore at all. Because of the delay, we were not treated to the barbecue we'd been promised. Half Moon Cay has a gorgeous beach. Everyone enjoyed it.
Wow. Isn't that sand fantastic? Isn't it? It's like you go ahead.
One of my friends had rented a cabana for the day. It was stocked with everything they needed. A little shuttle ferry brought everyone back from the beach to the ship before the 3 p.m. departure time. I'll remember this New Year's Eve cruise for a long time.